Brian was a single dad doing his best to raise his daughter Lily, just 6 years old, full of curiosity and heart. On a rainy evening, as they returned from a quick grocery run, Brian's car came to a stop at a red light. At a nearby bus stop, barely shielded from the downpour, sat a young woman in military fatigues. Her duffel bag was drenched and she looked exhausted, not just from the weather, but from something that ran deeper. Her expression was one of weariness and quiet defeat. Lily, peering through the window, noticed her too. With the innocence only a child could have, she asked softly, "Daddy, why is that soldier sad?" The question stirred something in Brian. He glanced again, truly looking at the woman this time, her soaked sleeves, the slight tremble in her hands, the distance in her eyes. She looked like someone who had seen too much, lost too much, and had no one waiting. Without overthinking, Brian rolled down the window. The rain misted inside slightly, but he didn't care. "Hey," he called out to the soldier, his voice calm and certain, "you're coming with us." There was no hesitation in his tone, just warmth, assurance, and a rare kind of kindness. The soldier looked up, startled. For a moment, she didn't move. Then, seeing the sincerity in his eyes and the smile on Lily's face, she slowly stood, her bag slung over one shoulder. She had no idea where they were going, but for the first time in a long time, she felt safe. The ride to Brian's home was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the tires on wet pavement. Emily sat in the back seat, uncertain but too tired to resist. Her hands gripped her duffel bag like it was the last thing tethering her to anything familiar. She didn't know these people, just a stranger and his little girl, but something about the way they had spoken to her, without pity or pressure, had made her feel something she hadn't in a long time, safe. Brian's house was warm and lived in, cluttered with toys and the scent of something home-cooked. Lily dashed inside with the excitement only a child could have, leaving the front door wide open behind her. Emily hesitated at the threshold, unsure if she belonged. Brian looked back and gave her a simple nod, as if to say you're already welcome. They ate dinner together at a small, round kitchen table. Brian didn't pry, didn't push. But slowly, with a voice that trembled at first, Emily began to talk. She had just returned from deployment. A back injury had ended her service early. She had no one waiting for her, not a parent, not a partner. No job, no home. She'd used her last money to get back to the city. Brian didn't say much. He let her finish. Then, after a quiet moment, he looked at her and said softly, "You're not alone anymore." Emily didn't reply, but her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in months, she exhaled. Days passed, and slowly, without realizing it, Emily began to settle into the rhythm of Brian and Lily's world. The once quiet soldier found herself laughing softly over breakfast, helping Lily sound out words for school, and telling stories from her time overseas, the lighter ones, the funny ones, the ones that made her feel human again. Brian never asked for more than she could give. He just let her be. At the park, Emily pushed Lily on the swings, her heart lighter than it had been in months. In the backyard, she helped Brian fix a crooked fence post, the two of them sharing quiet glances and quiet smiles. In the kitchen, she kneaded dough with Lily while Brian played music from an old speaker. She was no longer a guest. She was part of something. One evening, Lily handed Emily a crayon drawing. 3 stick figures, one tall man, one woman with brown hair in a ponytail, and one little girl, all standing beneath a rainbow. Emily stared at it, her throat tightening. "That's us," Lily said proudly. "You're in our family now." Emily blinked back tears. "I haven't felt like I belonged anywhere in years," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Brian looked up from the sink, met her gaze, and said gently, "Maybe we're all a little broken. But maybe that's how we fit together." Emily smiled through her tears. For the first time in forever, she felt whole. Late at night, with the house quiet and still, Emily sat alone in the small room Brian had offered her, the one with soft yellow walls and a view of the backyard. A faint breeze moved the curtains, and the moonlight lit up the corners of the space that had slowly started to feel like a home. She reached into her old duffel bag, the one that had been with her through everything: deserts, bases, long flights, and lonely nights. From a hidden inner pocket, she pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it. It was a letter she had written months ago. Not to anyone, but for herself. A goodbye. A final note meant for no eyes. Written on a night when the pain felt louder than hope, and she had believed no one would miss her. She stared at the worn, smudged ink, each word a memory of the weight she carried. But then her eyes drifted to the nightstand, where Lily's framed drawing stood proudly. 3 figures under a rainbow. The word family scribbled in a child's handwriting. Emily held the letter in one hand and the drawing in the other. Her heart beat faster, not from fear, but from clarity. She looked at the paper, then back at the smiling stick figures. With a deep breath, she tore the letter slowly, carefully, until it lay in pieces. Not anymore, she whispered, a tear sliding down her cheek, this time from peace. The sun was warm, the scent of grilled food filled the air, and laughter echoed through the backyard. A picnic table overflowed with potluck dishes, music played softly from a speaker, and neighbors gathered with plates in hand and smiles on their faces. It was more than just a barbecue, it was a celebration of something quietly extraordinary. Emily stood beside the grill, flipping burgers with Brian while Lily ran barefoot across the grass, chasing bubbles with other kids. Emily wore jeans and a flowered shirt, her hair loose, her face lit with a kind of joy that had once felt impossible. The scars she carried, inside and out, hadn't disappeared, but something inside her had changed. Brian tapped his glass gently and raised it with a modest smile. The crowd quieted. Sometimes, he said, family isn't blood. Sometimes, it's who stops at the bus stop of your life, and stays. All eyes turned to Emily. She looked down shyly, then smiled, wide and real, and gave Lily's hand a gentle squeeze. The little girl beamed up at her like it was the most natural thing in the world. As laughter and applause resumed, Emily looked around at the people, the sunlight, the simple, beautiful chaos of it all. And she realized, she wasn't on the outside anymore. She wasn't a guest. She wasn't a soldier lost between worlds. She was home. For the first time in a very long time, she wasn't just surviving. She was truly, finally living.